a ton at Mac Geek Gab. Hey everybody.
Good. Hey there.
We got a ton on Mac Geek Gab on Friday. Like more than I've ever seen. So
that's great.
It made me think that either it was an anomaly last week or our timing was off last week.
But we were early.
But Mac Geek Gab records at 9 a.m. Eastern.
That's interesting.
So, but maybe middle of the day is problematic. Like early might, because that's pretty early. We usually do, late in the day anyway.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know.
That's great. Yep. Sure. Okay, great. I am.
Hey, there we are.
Great. I've just reposted it, and here we go. Awesome.
And I got to go and do the same post on Facebook so that we have, we're giving
great.
that fair shake. Come watch.
Sounds good. That's a good
Shannon,
idea.
Gene and me record this week's we're BizBrain Show, aren't we? BizBrain Show episodes. It's like watching somebody type. I'll do that. Okay. And I will apply here to do that too.
Awesome.
Why not? All right. I
great.
Need to now I got to go to Facebook and do the same thing.
Oh yeah. Okay, great. Terrific.
Facebook.
Thanks for we'll watch this people stream on in. We've got a couple of interesting topics this week. We're going to talk about the lonely entrepreneur. We're going to talk about language and how that impacts us. And we're going to do a show on Friday about ways and means of ways and methods.
God, I can't believe I
business.
put a terrible. I gotta erase this.
Delete it.
Well, it's the grammar of it. I was trying to do it while I was talking, and I put. Oh no, that's right.
Is it right?
I did it right. Come watch Shannon, Gene, and me. Yeah, that's correct.
That's correct. I always struggle with that because, and I is so much use that all the time, but that. In that context,
but you wouldn't say, "Come watch I record this episode." Yeah,
yes,
and I know that, but I had confused myself.
That happens. That happens. I confuse myself too.
I will steal a phrase from one of my Mac Geek Gab co-hosts, Pilot Pete. He says, "I have outsmarted myself."
Oh, I
love this phrase.
You did another one where you said something about. I'm explaining it beyond my knowledge, but there was a better phrase for it. Remember where you were like,
I've told you more than I know.
Yeah, I've told you more than I know.
I have to give credit. I have to give credit to John Martellero, who worked for us for years at Mac Observer. He was with Apple before that. He used to say, "I've told you more than I know."
I love that. I'm definitely going to steal that
good.
because I think that's great. I think that's I love that. So,
yep.
All right. So we're going to check and see how the viewership goes too this week as we're recording back at our normal time. We'll see if that makes any difference. Or live streaming is our normal time.
Yeah. Right.
All right. I am ready anytime you are.
I am ready to. Okay, I think I'm ready. Sure, why not?
Terrific.
I gotta quit this. Oh, what's going on here? Yep. Okay. All right, I quit that. There's this. There's that. Looks good. Let's make the magic happen. Here we go. Business Brain, the show for entrepreneurs, episode 545 for Wednesday, May 1st, Frequent Flyer Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain. Man, I almost said welcome to a different podcast because I've been knee-deep in the recording studio today, but this is Business Brain, the show where we take a few ideas, we dissect them, we analyze them, we use them to tune our business brains each and every episode. Here in Durham, New Hampshire, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And I'm back up in the Sierra foothills working on this project. I'm Shannon Gene. Glad to be here. It's Frequent Flyer Day or whatever it is.
I did. Okay. I did say that. Yeah.
We got the intro topic that I wanted to talk about today have to do with language, but we can do that next week. I want to talk about points and credit cards and all that stuff just for a few minutes. I'll try not to go overboard.
Yeah.
and there's, people get really passionate about what's the best card to use. Should you be using it? If you're in business and you're racking up all kinds of expenses, an absolute prerequisite is you got to go to your vendors and say, the best way to get my business is to take my credit card as payment. And oftentimes they say, no, we can't do that. That's probably not true. If they really want your business, our shipping bills for UPS and FedEx and Tech Restore was about $250,000 a month.
Yep.
And every time I'd say, I'd love to give you the business. I love these discounts. I need to pay with my American Express. And at first they're like, no, we can't do it. And I said, okay, I'm going to go to UPS because they're going to do it. And then FedEx did, so as long as you have a couple of options, you can push back.
Yeah, you can play them. Figure out where the leverage is. And if you can find the leverage, then you can go and scavenge for those rewards points. You want to gobble those up.
Absolutely.
Like a crazy person. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
As many ideally millions and millions of points that you want to capture, and every expense you're putting on, or that you're running through your business, you want to try to put it on that card. Of course, you have to have the cash flow to pay it off. You can't carry a balance. It defeats the whole purpose.
Right. Yeah. Because your vendor is paying for those rewards points, right?
Correct.
And similarly, if you are allowing people to pay in your business with a credit card, the fees that you pay, and it depends on who your merchant provider is and all of that stuff, but you may wind up paying more in fees for the people who use rewards cards versus the people who use non-rewards cards.
Yeah,
but
dig deep. Yeah,
dig
check.
deep. Yeah, exactly.
Look at your statements, see how Stripe, if you're using Stripe, how they break it down and all this kind of stuff. But it's a life changer, and not just for you. We used to give out awards to employees, and to even an employee of the year that everybody voted on. And it was like, hey, you and your family, you can take a trip anywhere in the world. You pick. You want to go to Bali? You want to go to Europe? And maybe trips that some of these folks wouldn't normally take. And so the payoff is huge for them, for everybody else in your organization that sees that gift of very generous, and for yourself because you feel awesome giving those things away, and it'll just lift up your entire lifestyle without having an impact on your personal bottom line. So definitely want to get those in. If you have questions about what's the best card, how to do it, feedback at businessbrain.show. Dave and I have been doing this for decades.
Yeah, I have started. I'm a big Starwood. Well, it was Starwood for a while.
Same.
It was it turned into Marriott Bonvoy, which was a great expansion in my opinion. So I gather up Marriott points still. Prior to that, I gathered up American Airlines points, which actually got me to be a lifetime gold flyer with American just from my credit card points.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is awesome. It's nice. You get upgrades and things like that, and you get upgrades at hotels when you earn points through that too. But run the numbers for your scenario, because you might be better off using a cashback card or something like that. Just run the numbers. The card that's right for me, the card that's right for Shannon, it's not necessarily the one that's right for you. So
yeah, it depends on what you want. And I like to have both. When I had a new house, the card that offered the biggest kickbacks to like Lowe's and Home Depot, that was great for us. Yeah. My daughter moved to New York and was going to college. We started leaning heavily into our JetBlue credit card because that they offered a great, route back and forth from SFO to JFK, and we were out there all the time. And so we wanted to build up tons of JetBlue points. So it just depends on your unique situation. And like most generalized advice, it's generally not great. So you want to get specialized. tips on what that should be the first question. What do you want to achieve? What do you want to achieve? What's your definition of success with those cards? That'll help you choose, the one that's good for you.
Love it. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great.
Yep.
Okay. So I want to talk about a study that came out, and we're going to share this graphic. Do you have that graphic? Can you share that?
Well, I can share it live, but most people aren't going to see it live. But,
no, you're right. We'll put it on the.
I'll find it. Yeah.
It'll be up at businessbrain.show in the show notes. And the heading is "Lacking social connection is as dangerous as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day." Now, maybe that's a little hyperbole, but it's one of the top things that can cause premature mortality, Alzheimer's, let's just call it general unhappiness. Yeah. And one of the things I hear a lot, I've been coaching more and more business owners over the last, this last 6-8 months.
Sure.
I just hear it over and over. It's really lonely. And then I saw this come up on X in a post from Sahil Bloom, who's a guy's got like 1 million followers, and yeah, that's it right there. If you're watching the live stream, you can see it, or if you watch on YouTube, you can see that. And I thought this looks really important, and we ought to be talking about it because we're serial entrepreneurs, patently unemployable, and I would say one of the reasons that I was interested in starting this podcast was to help overcome being, I guess, lonely or isolated, maybe.
Yeah.
And even if you're an entrepreneur surrounded by a bunch of employees, they don't know, you can't share everything with them. At least I hope you're not. You can be friendly, but you can't be friends with them.
It's difficult.
Yeah, it's very difficult. Maybe there's stuff you don't want to share with your spouse about the business that's stressing you out, and you think, wow, this will stress them out even more. So a lot of it is on our shoulders, and I think it's worth, taking some time here to talk about ways to offset this.
I think it's interesting to look at this chart because and again, all charts are made in their own way, but this comes from the Office of the U.S. Surgeon General, and it shows that, again, of the 6 things on this chart, lacking social connection is the worst. Your odds of premature mortality are at like a 0.65. Smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day is a 0.55. Drinking 6 alcoholic drinks, 0.3-ish. Physical inactivity, 0.2. Obesity, 0.15. And then air pollution is like a 0.5. Because it's possible as an entrepreneur, you might wind up checking more than one of these boxes, right? The lacking of social connection, that's very easy. And especially, the COVID lockdowns forced us to certainly be isolated, but it also gave us permission to be isolated. And for a lot of us entrepreneurs, myself, certainly, it was like, okay, great. Now I don't have to worry about like going and like seeing people. I can just like buckle down and get to work and like do the things. And there was I didn't enjoy the lockdowns in a general sense, but there were parts of them where there was like, oh, there's a silver lining here. Like, okay, great. And part of that silver lining, I've said on the show before, I'm an introvert, and so my default is to not go and hang out with people. I've learned how to not be shy when I'm around people.
Right.
But, it was easy to revert to that default when literally, everybody was saying you're not allowed.
Yeah,
so
it's a really good point too.
No problem.
Yes.
But then you've got physical inactivity. Depending on how much you drink, of course, those things can lead to obesity. So you start stacking these things. It's not so good.
No.
So,
and you do have to, it's a skill that you have to practice, that being connecting. It doesn't come naturally to everybody. And it is easy to kind of burrow in like a tick and focus on, that's a bad analogy, but I like that. Because you're just like, I'm going to get this done. I'm building this thing. I'm doing this project. I've got all these digital tools, which are wonderful, allow you to work from everywhere. But is it, can you connect with people on that level? So I think you have to work at it, whether it's, family and friends getting out, but also, joining peer groups for your business. Like, that sounds like a nightmare to me. I'm not a joiner, but I will tell you, having been involved with peer groups and business groups on X since I've been putting a lot of time in there, that feels great, man. I love it. And they're pushing me as well, to do certain things and holding me accountable on certain things. And just that interaction,
Uh-oh. Shannon's on his Starlink connection today, so we're going to have him back in about 10 seconds would be my guess based on it. But, a cloud flew over. Maybe it was frequent flyer day, so an airplane flew over and blocked Shannon's view of the satellite. All right, did the airplane pass by and we got you back?
Done.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right,
that
great.
one
Perfect.
satellite that I'm on. Anyway, I'm talking about the groups that I'm in on X. It's very powerful to get that back and forth and that engagement. So forcing yourself, that's a bad word, and getting yourself to get out, whether you're doing it online and connecting with people, but you got to connect the right groups. The whole concept here is lifting each other up, don't go on, this will sound bad, but if you're in business, I would say Reddit is not a great place to hang out because it's full of it's way more full of negativity in my opinion. And, there's a much bigger victim mentality, and maybe that's in certain corners of X as well. So I don't want to.
Oh, it's definitely in certain corners of X. Yeah,
I'm sure there is. But in my corner, it's very encouraging, helping you out, offering suggestions. But you have to put the effort into it. We started with a group of about 10 people, and only about 5 of them really engaged. So we split off with our group, and then we started bringing in other people that we thought, hey, this is a good fit. This person taught, they're going, they want to help, they want to add to something. I think now we have 9 people in this group, and not only do we talk every day in the chat, but we do a call once a week, which I'm going to start recording so we can publish a podcast, because it's basically like this conversation.
It's here. Like this, right? Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
I will say something about that.
Yes.
I noticed this when we ran Mac Observer. Of course, we were doing podcasts, and I also was running Backbeat Media and knew the value of a daily podcast. Okay, so all of these things swimming in my head. We used to do daily staff meetings to sync everybody up, and I started thinking, well, wait a minute, these conversations that we're having in the staff meeting, we would talk about the content. I'm like, this would be a great thing to publish. Now, I knew that there were things we were talking about that we didn't want to make public. So it was, all right, great. Let's have our normal conversation, and then let's go have a conversation about whatever these news topics are. And it was a more organized thing, and the show did amazingly well, in fact. But I noticed that as soon as the red light was on, there was what we call red light syndrome, where everybody's in performance mode now.
Sit up a little more.
Yeah, and it became even though it was like coming out of this staff meeting where it was more relaxed, it was like very stiff is the wrong word, but it was performative. It became
it's natural.
Yes, and so just be aware of what might happen when you tell people, I'm going to record this and release it as a podcast. You get somebody doing like I'm doing right now.
Good point.
Going on a soapbox, not talking to you. I mean, I am talking to you, but you get what I'm saying.
So, no, I get it. Yeah. So, but I think that, I had a call this morning with a young guy who was asking, like, should I bring a partner on? Because it'll make it, it'll make it better. That's an interesting illustration.
I have the business tick up on the screen.
See, there it is.
Made by ChatGPT. Yeah.
I like it. Yeah. Dug in like a tick.
Dug in like a tick. Yep.
What this person actually was interesting. They were moving because they were out on some, I don't know, more vacation-y type location that didn't have a lot of activity, especially in the winter. And they were moving back to the city so they could be around people their age. This person's in their 20s, have a little bit more dynamic environment. And I I was like, yes, great. I'm glad you're taking that action because it's going to help you, connect with other people, build your network out. I think that's terrific. Could you put that picture in?
I put it in Slack for you, so that you could
do it.
You could use it for the
business
for
tick.
the episode image if you want.
That's perfect. Burrowed in like a tick. Oh
Burrowed in like a tick. I will say, again, something we learned during the COVID lockdowns, but it applies regardless, is be aware of if your employees are leading lonely, antisocial lives too.
You've mentioned that to me before. That's a good point.
Like, make sure that they are not doing that, because it may, again, in small doses, it can be really good for your business. It's like, oh, well, they don't do anything at night, so they wind up working extra hours for me. And that can be awesome.
How do you
until
tell?
It's not.
How do you tell when you should say something? Do you just encourage connection all around, or
I think it's more just the encouraging connection, like, hey, what'd you do last night? That kind of thing. Having those conversations, and then just I find I say often that I am a better leader than I am a manager, and fine. And I've learned things about management that I'm working on it, still getting better at it, but as a leader, that comes more naturally to me. And so in that, knowing that, it's like, well, if I just go and talk about the things I am doing after hours, it will normalize this, and maybe they will start to do more things after hours. And it doesn't always work, but it's something,
Yeah, it's something.
Yeah. And then that also forces me to do things after hours, which is good, because I might just want to burrow into my couch like a tick. So,
Yes. And I like, I've mentioned it a lot. One of the things I used to love to do was cook for everybody on Fridays, rain or shine, on the barbecue, if you're in person. So thinking about that was great, because it's kind of like having a secret meeting. They don't know you're actually having a meeting, but you are, and you're feeding them. And so that everybody's relaxed and you're talking. Hey, what are you doing? What's going on? How are your kids? It allows you to become a better leader, because you can connect with them on those issues, or not issues, but topics that you may have in common. So if you're running a digital company or a remote company, and I think you're good at it, Dave. I know you do a backbeat get together just to hang out and stuff. I think that's terrific.
We actually started doing a hangout recently with the old crew from the Mac Observer.
Oh, nice.
I call it the TMO
awesome.
refugees.
That's great.
Actually, I changed it because it's the TMO family. Because we were a family when we were together as a team, and that is something where I can now be more myself with them. When I was running the company, like you said, you could be friendly but not friends. Yeah. Now these people don't work for me anymore. They haven't worked for me for 2 years, and in a sense, in some of these people's minds, certainly at the moment, they were kind of upset with me when we sold the company, because it meant that we broke the family up. I get it. It's fine, but that has allowed that also broke the manager, leader, boss, employee thing.
You can be friends now.
I can now be friends, and we severed that right in two. So it can be a little more laid back, and I can be a little more free with things like that. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So
if you're looking for a group and you can't do it with your current team, did you have another team before? Start a text message trail, and then let that kind of percolate, and then say, hey, you want to get together for a Zoom call? Sure, let's do that. And then boom, there you go.
Yeah. So if you've got ways that you want to share with us, feedback at businessbrain.show. The goal here, we're all trying to grow our business brains together, and I'd love to get your take on it, whether you're a solopreneur on your own, or you have a team spread across the world, or you're all working in the same building. What are some tips?
Let us know. Feedback at businessbrain.show. Like he said, we'd love to hear from you. We love doing this show. And keep living that charmed life. We'll see you on Friday. And we're out.
Terrific. All right, so now this is the in-between episode. So if you're watching on X, this is where Dave's going to twirl some knobs, push some buttons, and push that episode out so I can go afterward and do some post-production stuff and get it to publish tomorrow. And then we're going to record, as soon as he's done, we're going to record our Friday episode, which is all about promoting your business. And it's going to be good. It's going to be great. I had an interesting experience last night giving someone some tips on their new podcast. I was in the car on the way up right before I was about to get in my truck and drive up to the mountains, and they texted, "Can you go listen to the show? I just started recording it. I want to know, does it suck? Is it worth continuing to do? And what would your tips be?" And I listened, and the content was awesome. And I was like, I'm going to follow up later. But I actually just wanted to follow up right then. So I started just voice to text messaging him right back. And, over and over and over. And just tips like, sound, some issues, and length of the show.
Sure.
And all, just minor stuff, but that are important. But the content was great. And I said, man, he's like, should I keep doing it? And I said, yeah, I learned something new every episode, which is fantastic. And this guy's terrific at operations, back office, and analysis. He's crazy smart, super energetic. So I'm excited that he's out there sharing his tips.
That's great
on his podcast. Yeah,
that's
very
cool.
Good. I want to have him on sometime, but he makes me look dumb, so I'm a little nervous.
It's always good to have people that make us look dumb. That's smart.
True.
Yeah,
that's true. But there's a big...
I like that he asked you, "Does this suck? And should I keep doing it?" And it's like okay and almost expected for the answer to be yes to both of those questions.
Yeah.
Yes,
you're just getting started.
Keep going.
Yes. You're going to I go after 50, you're going to be way better than you are now.
Yep.
And, but the content is definitely worth it. And you just got to keep going. And, I told him like, most podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes.
Oh,
and, so it was great. I was glad to help him and have something to contribute. That's terrific.
Yeah, it's good.
What's our intro topic for Friday? Did you have one, or do you want to?
Well, we were going to do this strategy as like ideas, but why don't we take? No. Why don't we take your
the
language?
Yeah, let's do language. Okay.
God, I was just realizing I've had my in-ears here in for like. I did 2 90-minute sessions, basically back to back for Gig Gab this morning. Then I did this. Then I have to go to the theater and rehearse a show and put them back in.
The same ones? You use them?
It will be different ones, but they were made all from the same mold, so it's close enough. It's not. It's. I mean, it's going to be fine. But I just noticed it as we were doing this. I'm a pro. I am going to get another seltzer here so that I can keep my throat going, and I'll be right back.
That sounds good. 6 drinks a day,
and then I'm ready to go. So.
That's awesome. Yeah, so we were in there. So it's interesting. Last week we live streamed earlier in the day and had less people kicking in, and now we're about halfway there. It's fascinating whether more and more folks join. There's a strategy behind this and how to handle the live stream to bring in more eyeballs. Whether you stay online longer,
eyeballs.
Yeah. Eyeballs. On X, it's eyeballs or Facebook or, They were streaming on LinkedIn, YouTube, everywhere.
Oh, we should promote it on LinkedIn too. I feel like I feel like we just ignore that platform and
we've neglected it. Yeah, I agree.
Yes.
I agree. We should do it. Yeah. All right. I'm ready anytime you are.
All right. Let's do that so I can have that up. Great. And there we are. Watch your language. That's the intro topic.
That's the intro. Perfect.
Yep. All right. Here goes nothing. Business Brain, episode 546 for Casual Friday, May 3rd, National No Pants Day 2024. Greetings, folks, and welcome to Business Brain here on this very special day. Business Brain, of course, being the show where we take an idea or 6, we dissect them, we analyze them, we cogitate upon them so that each of us may use them to tune our business brains each and every time we get together here in Durham, New Hampshire, as usual. As usual, I'm Dave Hamilton.
And out here in the Sierra foothills, I'm Shannon Jean. Glad to be here. Yeah, still up on the Starlink, so I'm sure we'll have a little blip sometime during the show. It's kind of weird how it does that. It gets a little tired and has to kind of, it's strange. Even at 93% coverage, it still does it. So,
well, we get 93% of you for the show.
I guess so. That's not
just
bad.
have to vamp good. Suddenly.
The price is
awesome.
right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Hey, so we're going to talk about promoting your business. I know you have something that topic, but before we get into that, I wanted to talk about language and how words impact us. I'm a huge proponent of learning to talk to yourself in a positive manner, how to tame your inner judge, if you will, to still be accountable. But to understand that to go negative in your head is kind of often the default, and it doesn't serve you well. I had a client that I was on a call with last week, and as we were getting to know each other and trying to figure out how I could help him, he made this statement a few times that, I have an unsettled mind. And then we would talk about things he's working on and other opportunities here. And he's very successful trying to do this, trying to do that. And he kept saying this unsettled mind. And I said, let's reframe that. Let's change that word and strike it from your vocabulary. And let's insert the word curious. Because a curious mind is awesome. I consider that I have one. It's actually, I think it's a superpower. It pushes you to ask more questions of other people so you can be more focused on being interested in hearing from them instead of being focused on you being interesting. And so I saw it kind of connect with him and followed up and everything. And I think it's already having an impact, the way that we think. So it's just those little words that we use in our head. And if you find, you can't ever say you're stupid in your head. You can't do it. It's bad for you. Right. Don't say it. And so my son, he got scammed on some tennis shoes when he was in high school buying online. And I saw it and he's like, I'm so stupid. And I said, no, you're so inexperienced. Yes. That's it. It's a very different thing. And there's enough negativity in the world coming down on your shoulders.
Yeah, you'll get plenty of that.
Yeah,
from externally, you'll get plenty of negativity. I always say it's a little off topic, but not really. The negative stuff in the world is always going to find its way in. It's just how it works. When bad things are going to happen, they kind of happen. It's the good things that you get to control whether or not you let them in. And you can choose to close the door to all the good opportunities. The bad stuff, the things like, bills that show up or surprise problems, you don't get to pick those. But the surprise, windfalls, you can say, I'm not going to take advantage of that. I'm not going to do this. Don't cash that check. You can choose not to cash a check. You can't choose not to pay a bill, right?
Yeah.
Don't take the check. It's yours. It's all good.
That's right.
When the good stuff shows up, and the same is true with that internal dialogue. I love your term, the inner judge. It's that's one that I think it means a lot for all of us. Yep. And it's really easy for that inner judge to go negative. It's almost very that easy. Judge's job. And so you need to tame it. And that inner judge can be really helpful in the right and limited moments, but be
keeps you
careful.
Accountable, but
keeps you accountable. Correct.
Yeah. But don't overdo it. And
don't overdo it. No.
Those words that you put inside your head and that you're thinking of over and over, they impact your actions. They impact your worldview, your view of yourself. And so it takes practice, but strike out that negative stuff and swap out words that have a more positive, feeling towards them. I think you'll enjoy it.
I think you're gonna like it. Me changing from saying that I was busy to saying that I was productive. Like that one change from busy to productive, it has been life-changing, and it's simply a word.
Yep.
That's it. So, watch your language, folks.
Watch your language. I love it.
Speaking of watching your language, what's the right way to say this? We at Backbeat Media, the company that I run that does the podcast advertising sponsorships, we have been a relatively shy company. We don't say good things about ourselves. We don't say bad things about ourselves, mind you. Like we're smart enough not to do it, but we just do what we do, and we know that we're good. And it's frustrating when I see things happen when other people celebrate, or are being celebrated for the good things that they have done with their or companies that are celebrated, especially when they're competitors. And it's frustrating when that happens, because it's like, well, wait a minute, what about us?
Yeah, we've achieved that too.
The answer is, well, if you want people to know about you, tell them. And so we have made a concerted effort this year to find reasons to send out press releases, announcements, whatever. And we just started building a list. I mentioned, actually, I forgot to mention, because we were having so much fun recording the show, last Wednesday's show, like a week ago, whatever, the last full week of April, that episode of Business Brain was my 2000th podcast episode that I've ever done.
That's amazing. Yeah,
that's amazing.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Right? Thank you.
Yeah.
But like in the moment, I didn't care about it, right? Like as we were doing it, I knew it was coming up. Like we had calculated this weeks before. It was like, I think it's going to be that episode of Business Brain. And it turns out it was, because that's how math works. But doing it, the episode wasn't about that. The episode was about what we wanted to talk about that day, because I love doing the show. I love doing the work that we do. But we did send out a press release about this. We shouted it from the rooftops. Nice. And it makes us look good. And I can't tell you how many people I've heard from that have been like, holy crap, this is amazing. And it just, even if nothing immediately comes from any one of your touch points with your business, it starts telling people you get to write the narrative of your business if you choose to. If you don't, then someone else will write the narrative of your business. And potentially lots of someone else's, right? It just sort of happens. Yeah.
I love it too, because those like press releases, we used to do the same thing, and it may seem like a minor thing to you.
Yes.
But to others, perhaps not, and those press releases become part of your content library. And when people come to learn about your company, they come in and they say, oh, wow, look, these guys have, even if they're not going to read your entire press release, but they're going to look at the headline, they're going to look down like it adds to your credibility. Your recognition, even though you're recognizing yourself. And I don't know if I think we're all taught to kind of be humble, maybe. And
you can be humble and confident at the same time.
Yeah,
there's a difference between confident and cocky.
Correct.
Speaking of language, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And you don't have to be cocky, but you can be confident. And like we sent out a press release last week. We partnered with a podcast hosting company called Blueberry. I've known these people for years. They don't offer. They offer sort of programmatic ads for their hosting customers, but they don't offer host-read ads like what we do here. And so I've known their founder and CEO and their team for a very long time. We all kind of started in the business together. And over the last 6 or 8 months, we formulated this thing where I was like, well, why don't we put this together so that we can offer this to your hosting customers, the ones that want it? Like it's totally opt-in and all that stuff. And we sent out a press release about it.
It's great.
I have had 3 conversations with prospective podcasts that, to come on board with Backbeat, none of which are hosting customers of Blueberry. They learned about us from the press release.
Yeah, that's a big deal. That's huge.
That's a big deal. Now, I don't know if we're going to sign any of these or if it's going to make any a difference or not. But it's like, oh, hey, wait a minute. Right. We just got to say things about ourselves.
Yes,
because
the press
nobody's going to do
releases-
it for us unless
Right,
we seed the pot. Yeah.
Right. You're expanding your net. And I like to cut through it, and I like to say, because I like this word a lot, if you don't think you're a badass, how can you expect anyone else to?
Yep.
So you do need to be confident, a little brash, maybe a little vocal. You don't want to be cocky because people don't like that. You don't want to, but we used to say, I don't like saying we're the best, but I like the word, the premier, I used to say award-winning all the time because we have won awards.
You only need to win the one, folks.
All you got is one. Once you're the number one book, like one of my books was number one on Amazon. Well, I'm a
best-selling author.
Yeah, on this kind of thing. So those words matter. The way you think, it ties right into the language concept that I was talking about at the beginning of the show. Use those words when you talk about your business because other people will think the same way. They're going to pick up on that.
You're teaching them how to think and talk about your business because otherwise they have to do it themselves, and they will. Like it's kind of how life works. So you have the opportunity to teach them and coach them and guide them, or they'll just do it on their own. And you may or may not like the results of that.
Yeah, and that's why testimonials are so crucial.
Yeah.
Because people want that social credibility. They want to come. They want to read quick little blurbs about how this company, helped me. This company, they changed my life, or there was a problem and they fixed it, and all these kinds of things that connects with us as people are trying to figure out what your story is. Whether it's you're building a brand individually, whether you're building your company. Yeah. People want to know, and I like that concept of you get to write the narrative or everybody else is going to write it for you. So
it's just going to be written by default. Yeah. Like there's nobody out there that wants to write the narrative. Like if this is the case, even if they want to write a bad narrative, like it's awesome that you've got someone that's not involved in your company that wants to say things about you. Better if they want to say good things, but you've done something right if they want to say bad things too. But
that's right.
Chances are you don't. And so what you wind up with is people writing a narrative by default, and that is going to almost certainly be super boring.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah. And inaccurate. So, we used
PR Web to send out our stuff. I don't know, they're great, not very expensive. Testimonials, I've been using this app called Senya.io, SENYA.io. They're great. Testimonials.to is another testimonial gathering service that makes it very easy for people. Yeah, Senya's great. I love it because I just fire off a quick link and they do it and they build this, they call it the wall of love, and you can embed it and all this kind of stuff. So it's cool. Those things are great. And
I'm looking to see what Sadie used for this. I don't know. I can't figure it out. No.
What was she doing for what for?
For the press release that we sent out. I know we used a service, and
PR Web is like kind of a self-service. You upload
we've used that before.
She
found another one, and I'm not sure which one it was. So
it's also great for your.
I'll find it and put it in the show notes.
Yeah, it's also great for SEO.
Yeah,
creates backlinks to your website because there'll be some organizations that'll pick up the press release and publish it and maybe get a link back. So all that stuff's great. You got to be confident promoting your business. You don't have to use hyperbole and say we're the greatest and number one and all that kind of stuff. You can just be confident that, our service is valued. We're going to do a great job, and our customer service is amazing.
Say the things that if you believe them to be true, say them. Say the positive ones. Yeah.
And if you don't, that's a problem.
Well, fix that, and then you get to go say it. Pick the story you want to tell. Take a lesson from Shannon Jean's book here, and pick the story you want to tell, pave the path to get there, and then freaking tell the story. That's how it's going to work.
Awesome. Yep. Tell your story to us. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Tell us what you're working on. Come on the show and talk about your business if you want. Tips, we'd love to hear from you.
Absolutely. Feedback@businessbrain.show. Keep living that charmed life, folks. Have a fantastic weekend and tell us about your business. Maybe we'll talk about it and give you one of those backlinks Shannon mentioned. See you next week. And we're out.
Terrific. Thanks for joining us, folks. The first episode we recorded will be be published tomorrow on all the podcast apps, and then the one we just did will be out on Friday. And to come up at Dave Hamilton on X or at Shannon Jean, come up and follow us, and we'll share it with you up there.
Absolutely.
Take care, folks.